Ruins Deathbinder by Marek Vogelsinger. This is a card-driven dungeon crawler. With a dungeon that is in this structure. Put random adventure tokens on the grid, so moving from the arrow down to the boss, you have every time a different actual dungeon. The rulebook looks nice, but there's an updated version online, plus there is a companion that I wrote myself. You can play, well, one of the unique features of Dungeon Crawler, the Ruins Deathbinder, I mean, is that you can play with 2 players, and there is a player mat for player 1, and then on the right player 2. Player 1 is specialized in melee, it's the fighter, so there's X's for the spell tier, and similarly for the player 2, which you can place there, that's a spellcaster. The primary function for me was to play it solo, so there's a player trait upgrades player board, and the brilliant part is that for the solo turn schematics you can use this as a handy dandy reference sheet. So the cardboard is pretty thick, and it is recessed, so tokens that you place you have these trackers. It's very handy that they don't change when you move around. So you start with a defense, everything at 0. Well, let's do the solo version. If you play co-op, then it is suggested to play at least once the story. So you don't suffer from having to look up everything in the rulebook. Now, as you can see, the starting defense is at 1, so you place the starting defense at 1, not 0. If enemies attack you, then you become undefended, and then you suffer health directly. Your max health is 6, so you start like this, and when this goes to 0, you're dead in solo and downed in co-op, so the other person can continue for a while until he's dead as well. This is the corruption track. It starts at the leftmost part, and you gain blight, as this is called, blight track, by completing adventure tokens. So that is an adventure on a location on the map. Also, if you fail certain events that you draw, and if you yeah, well, that's most of it. Some enemies, I think, also have a blight effect. Well, there's adventures in 3 types. You have encounters, that's like here. That's direct combat with enemies that you draw from a tier deck. And there is events with 4 types: decision, discover, ambush, obstacle, and there is rest. Rest is this symbol, and this is the other 2 symbols. No matter what you resolve as an adventure, you check if all the adventures have been resolved on the adventure token, and then you remove the adventure token. And you gain blight. Blight is a kind of a threat meter. If it goes to max blight for the 2 players, there's actually, as you can see, the arrow, a continuation of the blight. So you share with 2 players a single blight tracker, and the blight to max only makes it more difficult for the next encounters, because the 1E means 1 enemy you draw, but in later stages of blight you can draw 3 or 4 enemies at a time, and by that time your enemy levels have also gone up, because this is a useful wrapper for that I made for the level 1s, and because of the preparation that you have to do, otherwise you have to shuffle everything. This is already shuffled part, and if I ever go through the level 2, then I would have to shuffle it again. So by placing it this way in the box, I can immediately see that I need to shuffle it first, right? So once you go through this and you gain blight, you encounter more enemies, and they have more hit points than, for example, this guy, level 2, or this guy with a meager 4 hit points. And they also have extra effects. These spell effects are not explained in the rulebook, but they are explained in the companion. So I suggest, if you have questions, that you look them up. Once you have gone through this set of enemies, whenever you gain more blight, well, there's nothing to draw, but it almost certainly never happens. At the end, the goal is, of course, for a quick descent game mode. There are, of course, variations, but the standard way to play is the quick descent, so it's a single pass through the dungeon, or like this. For the quick descent, you encounter a boss. There are bosses in different levels. So for the first pass, you play level 1 boss. It looks like this. And they are partnered, so it's a bit different than usual. So one of the unique features is that whenever you play a campaign version, that is, you go 4 times through this map, and the second time you draw again the adventure tokens to fill the dungeon, and then you go to when you find a boss, then you go to a level 2 boss, then level 3 boss, level 4 boss, and there are 4 levels of bosses. The best way to shuffle this is in a drawstring bag that is non-transparent, like a simple velvet bag, or use a coffee cup that's empty, of course. So you fill this up completely, and then, as you can see, with your hero token. This is a diceless game, so it's all card-based, and that's one of the great features. So let's say you start the game, you have a choice with going through either of the adventure tokens, and you perform these in a clockwise manner, so best to place them like a clock. So for example, you go to this one. Usual best practice is